Hey everyone, welcome to today's webinar. I am so excited that you're going to take a few minutes to walk through this with us. This is a really hot topic. I feel like I get this question a lot of times from my clients that are in the creative agency space. They want to know, when's the right time to hire? What do they hire for? They want to understand the roles and what they're looking for within those. So I'm really, really excited today to be joined by Leslie, who is going to walk us through that. As a little introduction, if you've been here before, you know me, but if not, my name is Hannah Hood. I am a virtual CFO and a virtual CFO senior resource manager here with the firm, and I'm excited to dive into this webinar. Just to give you a little bit of background about who we are as a firm, we started as a traditional CPA firm in 2002 by Jody Grendon and Adam Hale, who you see in the picture respectively. In 2004, they started offering CFO and back office accounting services, really before we started to see that advisory, more remote type work done for clients. In 2013, they moved to a fully distributed firm. So everybody went remote, again, ahead of that remote working wave. So they really were pioneers in this space. In 2022, Summit CPA, we joined Anders. We merged with Anders. They are a regional accounting firm out of St. Louis, a traditional CPA firm, and we are their outsourced accounting and advisory services division. So now we go by Summit Virtual CFO by Anders, and we still have fully remote team members, but we also have team members who work a hybrid schedule as well. So that has brought us to where we are today. And Leslie, I am so excited for you to join me with this. I'm going to let you introduce yourself to the audience.
Great. Thank you, Hannah. It's great to be here with your audience. Again, my name is Leslie Pyle. I am the founder and owner of HireMyMom.com. We are a remote job platform for moms or anyone who is looking for remote work. And we cater exclusively to small businesses. Typically, our clients are either solopreneurs on up to agencies or companies with about 20 to 30 employees. So that's kind of become our niche, and we just love the way that we can help both audiences find their perfect match. So we've been in business now for 17 years, so I've seen a lot change in the remote work world. When I first started working from home, it was 1995.
Oh, wow. Way before remote work was popular.
Yes, way before. And I was prompted by having my first child and quickly realized I did not want to go back to a full-time job. So that began my freelance journey, which ultimately led to me starting Hire My Mom in 2007.
Thanks for that background.
Yeah. So we'll start here with, a lot of times we get questions on how do I hire or when do I hire? So whether you're new to hiring or you've been hiring for a while, hopefully this presentation will help answer some of the questions. So the first thing let's talk about is, when should you hire? And I have 5 signs that I believe are very common for someone to know when they should hire. The first one is your customer service is slipping. So when people are falling through the cracks or you're no longer providing that terrific service that you once did, that's a sure sign that you most likely need to hire. And that might be an assistant, virtual assistant, or might be, someone else to be on your team doing social media, whatever it might be. That's a sure sign, because you want your customer service obviously to be amazing, because that's where you get a lot of your word of mouth referrals. The next one is, you are wearing too many hats. You don't really have time to do what you love or what you're good at anymore. So you're probably trying to do a little bit of everything. And most of the time when you do that, you can't do all of those things well. And we're usually really gifted in 1 or 2 areas, and that's where I believe you should spend your time. So if you see yourself wearing too many hats and trying to do too many different roles, that's another sure sign. Next is, you're working too many hours. And this might be, if you're married, your spouse, letting you know that, hey, you're working a little too much. Or if you have kids, maybe you're working when they're at home from school or whatever. So that another one is a sure sign that you probably need to hire help. And I'd like to tell people here that, you may only need someone 5 or 10 hours a week. You don't necessarily have to hire someone half-time or full-time. We get job posts, pretty often, someone saying, I need someone 5 to 10 hours a week. And typically that increases because they're like, oh, wow, now I can even, delegate more once they've made that initial hire. So that's another sure sign. The next one is you don't have the capacity to take on new business. So obviously, most of us are in the business to grow our business, and we don't want to reach a cap where we can no longer take on new clients. So that might be someone who does, in this case, might be someone who comes alongside to do more of the accounting or bookkeeping so that you can take on more clients. The next one is if you do have team members, they're doing more than they were originally hired to do. And again, this might be that they're really gifted in being an assistant, but you also have them doing social media or bookkeeping or something else. So that's another sign that you probably need to hire an additional team member.
This is something I talk to clients about often because it's really what I find is so many times they come to us and they have some really key employees, or maybe even it's just themselves where all the information just lives in their head. Like they're the ones that they're the only ones that know it, or the person in that role are the only ones that do. And a lot of times what happens is they just pile up more and more and more, a lot of times on themselves. But one thing I have to remind clients is that is not scalable for growth. If you don't get that out of your head, put it on paper, hire somebody, delegate, take that next step. I mean, odds are a lot of people went into business because they wanted some sort of control over their life. And so I find that they fall into this rut of the business taking control of them because they've just wanted to take on more and more, and it's really hard to let go of that control. But I've just seen firsthand how big of a difference it makes whenever they do finally. And like you said, it may not be somebody full time. Maybe it's just a few hours and you just dip your toe into the water and start to baby step into that space. But it really makes an exponential difference in just even the brain space that you have to focus on the things that you do need to be focusing on.
Yes, you are exactly right. And I tell people a lot of times it's a fear, and people may not even realize that at the time that they have a fear of hiring. And I think it's really powerful to write down, think through, what am I fearful of? Am I fearful of somebody not doing as good of a job as I am? Am I fearful I won't be able to afford them? Write out whatever those are. And then what's the worst thing that could happen? If that came true, you're going to recover from it. If you make a bad hire, you learn what you did wrong and you make a better decision next time. So most likely you're not going to go under because of this one decision. So, I think it's just important to take those baby steps, like you said. That's huge. And hire someone for 5 or 10 hours and kind of get comfortable with that. And I think from there you see, okay, that fear was really, not something I should have been fearful of, but it's one of those hurdles that you have to cross as a business owner, especially in the beginning when hiring is new to you.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So next I want to talk about tips for successful job posts. We get, as you can imagine, 17 years, I've seen a lot of different job posts. Some of them are fantastic, some of them are not. And so here I want to just share some of the tips that I think will be helpful to help you attract the right candidates. So the first thing is it's really great to share a bit about your company values and missions so that you will attract the right type of candidates, and people can see this is what this company does. This is what we value. This is our mission statement. It doesn't have to be anything fancy, but you're wanting to attract people that align with who you are and who your business is. So that's first. And again, not long, 1 sentence, 2 sentences is great. The next thing you want to do is share the benefits of the job and working for your company. And I know this sounds like a no-brainer, but we get these all the time where there's maybe not even the salary or hourly pay is listed. So make sure that, and if you have any specific perks, like we have companies that don't work on Fridays. So that's a big perk for someone that only wants to work Monday through Thursday. So if you have any perks or things that stand out about your business, share those as well. Then also share, are there any opportunities to grow depending on what type of role you're hiring for? If it's, entry level type, are there opportunities for that person to grow into more? Do you take certain days off, like I said, or certain holidays? Those are key things that, people are interested in knowing. Next, provide adequate information about the job, but don't overwhelm the applicants. So we get everything from 1 or 2 sentence job descriptions, which really aren't job descriptions, to, like a 5-page book, basically. So the perfect job post, in my opinion, is somewhere in the middle of that. Typically, I wouldn't say more than 1 page, because applicants that are reading through job descriptions don't want to read, 3 or 4 pages of details. They want to get an overview of what the job is about, what you're looking for, what, expertise, what the pay, the benefits, and that sort of thing. And then, once you get applicants to apply and you've narrowed it down, you can give more detail if it's important to you then. But if you overwhelm applicants, a lot of times they won't even read through the whole job description. All right. So, Hannah, did you have anything you wanted to add there?
Yeah, I hadn't thought about that, because I feel like that step is just widely overlooked sometimes, because I think we just think, oh, it's time to hire. Let me just get somebody in here. Let me just throw this together. But realistically, I want to be sure people don't lose sight of the fact that you're still trying to make sure that you have the right person in the right seat, right culture fit for your company. So that way you don't have to go through that process multiple times. So taking this time on the front end can be a little bit of an investment to get all this written up and just to get it laid out the way that you want it. But I think it's an investment well spent to make sure that you're not losing sight of your culture and just compromising that for the sake of like overwhelm if you're in that state, because it is important who you bring in your organization, and make sure that they're aligned with what you offer and where you are currently and where you want to be.
That's right. Yes. And if writing job descriptions is overwhelming or intimidating, and you just don't know where to start, you can easily either just go to a job site and review some job descriptions, or Google, bookkeeper, sample job post for bookkeeper, sample job post for virtual assistant. Or, now with AI, you can even go to ChatGPT or one of those and say, I need to hire a virtual assistant. Please help me craft a job description. I want these key features, blah, 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 blah. And they will do the work for you. So that's another.
That's right. It's easier than ever now to do that and get help with it. You're so right.
Yeah. All right. So now that you've gotten your job description, you've posted it, and you've cultivated however many applicants you want to interview, the next important step is to create some good questions. So in this interview process, you'll be looking for, answers that align with your company, your vision, the role, and all of that. So here are some questions that I think are good as a good starting point. And obviously you'll tailor some of the additional questions specific to the job. So first of all, I like to ask, what interests you about the job? This kind of, for me, lets me know, are they really interested in the job, or are they just applying to the job because they want to make money or whatever? You can kind of tell when someone lights up and they're really excited and it resonates with them. So for me, I want someone that really wants this job and is excited about hiring my mom, and they've read about, what we do, what we stand for, and all of that. On the flip side, you get someone that says, oh yeah, I saw that you were looking for a virtual assistant. I think that sounds like an interesting job. So you can kind of go, oh, maybe this person really isn't all that eager to work for me. So that's a kind of the way I look at these kind of questions. Then I like to ask, what did you like and dislike about some of the previous jobs? And we might go through a few of those. And again, I'm looking for, okay, have they done the types of tasks that I need them to do? And what did they love or not love about that? And is that going to translate well for what I want them to do? Or did they hate something that is a big part of the job I'm hiring for?
Mm-hmm.
Next, I like to ask, what's your top tip? And I'm assuming these are all remote jobs. So I know not everybody's exclusively hiring for remote, but that is, our platform. So what is your top tip for having a successful virtual working relationship? I like to hear what's worked and what hasn't worked for them. What do you like and dislike about working virtually? So again, you're kind of looking for clues on, is this a good fit? Will they, make a good candidate for your role? How do your skills and experience fit this job? So this gives them an opportunity to sell themselves on what you're looking for and what you are specifically hiring for. What other virtual jobs have you held? What were your responsibilities? How do you handle disruptions? Because if you work from home, you know that you have disruptions pretty often, especially if you have other family members in the house or pets, or you live in a busy area. So that's a good one to ask. And then what makes you think you are the best candidate for the job? So again, this gives them an opportunity to really sell themselves. This is just a fun one I like to ask. How would you describe yourself in 5 words? And I'm looking for strengths here that align with what the role is looking for. So those are some questions. And like I said, I would also include more that are specific to what you're hiring for, those exact skills.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And especially in this remote environment, this is a crucial step because we don't have that face to face. Like we don't get that like read and that energy and just being face to face with somebody. So being really intentional about interview questions is really, really key for making sure you've got the right person in the right seat, and making sure that you're really being thorough with the time that you have with people. So that I feel like it's important even when you're interviewing somebody in person, certainly, but I feel like there's an extra layer of importance that's added on if you are hiring for a remote position.
Right, I agree. And I know some people do telephone interviews. I personally prefer video interviews because I feel like I get to know the person better by speaking to them face to face versus just hearing their voice. Just it feels more personal to me. So that's my preference.
Yep, I totally agree.
Okay, so now we get this often like, well, what can I hire for? There are the obvious ones out there, but is there something that, maybe I'm not thinking of as a small business owner? So one of our top jobs that we get is virtual assistant. And I think that's probably one of the first roles that a lot of companies hire for, because it gives an opportunity for, if you're starting out and you are the only employee, then it gives you an opportunity to delegate some of those administrative tasks. It's like, for instance, my virtual assistant answers all the emails that come through the website, all the phone calls, all the text. But then she also does, when someone posts a job, we research to make sure it's legitimate company, legitimate person, and all of that. So she takes care of all of that. So that's just a few of her responsibilities. So, in the beginning, I was doing all of that. And that is a very time consuming role. So when I was able to hire my first virtual assistant, I thought, I had won the lottery, because it just freed me up so much to do other things. Obviously, bookkeeping is another big one that we get, bookkeeping and accounting. Another one we get often is social media management. And a lot of people start out doing their own social media, but as you get busy, it gets harder to find the time and to be consistent. So having someone who can learn your brand voice, speak as you, it's very helpful to have someone who, kind of studies your company, studies your what you do, and then can create content for you. And obviously approved by you in advance is something very helpful. We also get jobs for graphic designers, writing, editing, blog writing, marketing, digital marketing, email marketing, project management, customer service. It's another big one that can free you up a ton, is to have someone handle the customer service, which could be your virtual assistant, depending on how busy your business is. And we have Facebook ads. And then another one that's grown a lot recently is online business manager. And that's someone basically that can be your right-hand person and manage your team as you grow. And they may do a lot of different things, but they become the go-to person for your team instead of you. So they learn the business inside and out. They might, do some growth strategies for you, however you need that person to work. Basically, you can define it, but that's another one that we're seeing more and more as small businesses, remote businesses grow.
Sounds like that one's much more operational than just a virtual assistant in terms of coming in and working alongside somebody is what
Yeah.
I hear you saying, because that's the first time I've heard that title. So that's really good to know.
Yeah, online business manager or operations manager. I think they're one and the same, but I think maybe online business managers just become more of the remote word or title. But we also do get ones that are operations as well.
Sure. Well, I'll do a little shameless plug here. If anybody needs bookkeeping services, I know some people who do that.
Yeah.
Don't hesitate to reach out to us. But yeah, these are all really great. This is a really comprehensive list of ones that I see frequently that are sometimes hard, that I see, one person doing, like wearing sometimes 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 a chunk of these tasks and responsibilities. So hiring these out, just, oh my goodness, what a world of difference. And I think sometimes we think, oh, it's just faster if I'll do it, or it's just faster if this person does it, instead of me having to train somebody. But I mean, obviously I'm an accountant, so I'm going to put some math to it. But if you put the math on the 5 minutes it takes you every single day to check in with your team, or whatever it is, and you multiply that out throughout the course of the year, like you'll see. And like I remember doing that for some task of myself one time, and I'm like, oh, it really does make a big difference in the time that you get back.
Right. Yes, absolutely. And I think once people get a taste of how much more productive they are, it's like, wow, I wish I'd done this sooner.
That's right. Yes.
All right, so now let's talk about onboarding tips. So once you've selected your candidate and you're ready to get them going, it's great to be organized in the onboarding. And so up front, it takes a little time to get organized, like with anything, but it pays huge once you are. So the first thing I always recommend is schedule a welcome kickoff call with your new hire. And this could be just with you. It might be with your operations person, or it might be, with the whole team, however you desire to welcome someone to the team. I like to welcome, get to know the candidate a little bit myself, and then have a team meeting where I introduce them to the rest of the team. Obviously you want to share more about your business. So take a deep dive, help them understand exactly what you do, what's important to you. Like for us, oh my goodness, I don't know what just happened. Something just fell behind me. Scared me to death. So like for us, customer service is very important. So I like all of our teammates to know, that's very important. We want to always treat our customers with kindness, even if we know they're wrong and we're right. We don't want to treat them that way. So, telling them those kind of things, when you started your business, why you started your business, helping them understand as much about your business as they can, so that they feel like they can speak about it. They know about it. They're not feeling like they're in the dark, I guess. Then also you'll want to discuss the details of training, whether you'll be training them or another team member. And then if you can, I think this might be another slide about having everything, yes, where your SOPs, your standard operating procedures are, all the documents that you have, how to access them. So for us, we have like Google Docs on how to do certain things. We have Loom videos on this is how you do this. So it walks them through it. So they're not just learning it that day, but they have a resource to go to, especially if it's a job that has a lot of different tasks. And it can be overwhelming to try to remember all of that. So if you have SOPs, videos, and things like that for your team members, it not only helps you when you're training that person, but eventually if you have to replace them or something, you have all that already documented, and it makes future training so much easier. Next, you'll want to establish your preferred methods of communication. So whether that's email, whether you use Voxer, Slack, Trello, Google Chat, however you prefer to be communicated with for your team, make that known so that they don't start, calling the wrong person or using the wrong platform. For new hires, especially, I think it's important to schedule regular meetings, weekly or monthly, so that you can check in, see how they're doing. If they have questions, if there's anything about their job or their tasks that feel unclear. And this is a great place to then look and see if the SOPs need to be updated or if you need to change something so that you don't have to readdress this every time. Asking what parts they might want more help with or need more help with. These are some possible questions you can ask. What are your thoughts so far about your role? Do you have any suggestions or feedback? And these are great ways to see if you have any holes in your training or just areas that you need to improve in overall. And guess that was it. That was my last slide. So yeah, I would also just say, make sure that you have all the paperwork and everything for your hires. So, obviously you'll have to have the tax forms, the contract or independent contractor, if it's independent contractor, if you have any kind of employee handbooks or policies, banking information, depending on how you're going to pay them. And then, it's great to have all that in one place. So if you have a Google Drive or someplace that you keep all of it so that you have easy access to it when you need it.
I totally agree. Just getting organized on the front end will just save you so much time instead of waiting until you're to that point to figure it out. I love that you included the onboarding process in this presentation. That's something that I'm very close to with my role here with the organization, and something that we really have tried to zoom in and focus in on to make sure that we set people up for success, that we're just really clear, we've got everything documented, and that we can then duplicate that as new team members come in. And I remember this is my first remote role, and I remember about 3 years ago coming in and seeing that I had videos to watch of somebody going through a process and training me on something, versus I was used to being in an office and sitting physically with somebody to show me how to do something. And I just remember thinking, this is so silly, but I remember thinking, oh my goodness, this is brilliant. How great is it that I can now go back and reference this video to whenever I have questions? And how great, I was thinking, man, even brick and mortar folks need to consider this for some of the trainings, because how many times did I have to sit with that person multiple times or ask them questions or whatever it was? So again, it's work that you have to do on the front end to set that up, to make sure you have that process in place, but it's time well spent, and something that just will save you so much heartache of just making sure everything's set up well on the front end for your employees.
Yeah, absolutely. And, that's what an operations person or an online business manager can do for you as well. I had her create our Asana board and create all of the different boards where we were keeping things and organizing it for not only SOPs, but for daily work that we were doing. So we would have a board for blog content. We'd have one for social media, and we'd have one for virtual assistant, things that repeatedly need to be done and, tagged and things like that. So that's been a huge way that we've been more productive and more organized. So if that's not something you enjoy doing, you can always hire someone to do it.
That's a good point. I can't remember where I even heard this before, but that is a good thing, to write down the things that you do enjoy and the things that you don't enjoy realistically about your day to day. And maybe that's your starting point for figuring out where your biggest gaps are, where your needs might be, to get some of those things off of your plate, because odds are somebody else might really enjoy doing those things that just feel monotonous, or just feel it just feels heavy to do whatever it is, even though it may not be. It just may be what you just don't enjoy doing. So that may be a really good place to start when you consider what you need to hire for.
That's right. Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for being with me, Leslie. I do want to invite our audience. We have a free forecasting booklet that we like to point people to, that it is great. It is great information. It's a really great resource. You can scan this QR code and download that completely free. We also have a newsletter that comes out every month that we would love to have you subscribe to. So please feel free to scan this QR code to subscribe to that. And then we also have the Creative Agency Success Show. We have lots of resources for everybody. So we have a podcast that have also guest hosted on, and I just can say from experience that there are so many great topics that we cover in the podcast that might also be a really good resource for you or for members of your team. And then if you're sitting here like, oh man, like maybe I need to explore what this looks like to outsource some of my forecasting or my bookkeeping or whatever that is, we'd love to talk to you more about that. So you can scan this QR code and schedule that with us. So thank y'all so much for your time. And again, thank you, Leslie, for joining me. I look forward to talking to you more later.
Thank you.